All right, here we go. Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
Happy St. Patrick's.
Happy St. Patty's
to
to
the
all
three of us.
that celebrate. To all three of us.
None of us are wearing green. I just noticed
I know. I
was going to, and I just said, am I too old? Like, it's just, you get to, I'm at an age where, I'm Irish. My last name's Flanagan O'Neill.
Right.
I should have a green tie on, but I just said, screw it.
I had a green, dress shirt I was going to wear that was kind of a darker green, and I thought, what's the point? What is it really going to accomplish?
I don't know.
Is someone going to acknowledge it and be like, way to wear that?
Good job, man.
No.
Good job.
But I mean, Flanagan O'Neill probably should have done something.
And my mom, all my aunts, all my family, they have something green on today, but I just
it's a
didn't
big
get
day.
in the spirit. Maddie Nickel, my old trainer with the Leafs, I got us green Irish suits for St. Paddy's Day, and we debuted them in 2004 in Montreal.
Wow.
We wore the green suits in Montreal.
That's where you want to break it out.
Yeah.
You got to do that. But what was the cost of not doing business for this? Wasn't you supposed to get pinched or something like that?
Yeah, my kids were doing that this morning.
Yeah.
My youngest came in and pinched me so hard. And I was
what?
like, I guess that's a thing now.
You
if you're not
wear
wearing green.
you're supposed to get pinched.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
I
I
looked
was
at her
like in grade school.
7:30 this morning. I'm like, what do you think you're doing? Because you're not wearing anything green. I'm like, I know, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
You pissed the wrong person off with a pinch.
Oh,
you might get just KO.
That I could see some guy thinking he's being cool, an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Right?
At a restaurant, breakfast. Hey, no green today, huh?
Yeah.
Just lying on the floor,
Guy
KO.
just suckers him,
See you later.
knocks him out.
Yeah, see you later. But yeah, I would, guess maybe some of the bars are filling up. It's a Monday. We had this conversation on Friday.
Yeah.
Monday night's a tough one. You do have a Leaf game tonight. The Leafs will be in their St. Pat's gear.
Yeah.
So, and it was a weekend thing. I was down there on Saturday. A lot of people in green. And the St. Pat's gear, we talked about it on Friday. It is outstanding.
It's mint, but
it looks great.
The
it
thing
looks
is
great.
I brought up some memories where it's like that green gear, there's been some chaos on those games. There was a crazy comeback on Ottawa one. I think there was another one. Maybe it was a Carolina.
there was the Garrett Sparks one we referenced. After the game.
Jerry Sparks in a flat brim going, our team needs to be...
We got to play with more life and more structure and a little bit more...
Mike Babcock.
Remember Babs right afterwards? I don't know if he ever played again. He may have never played again. He might have been skating on his own March 18th.
He might have.
Because remember, they sent him to another part of the building at one point at the end. They said, you're no longer with us.
And then he went out to L.A. or something.
Yeah, he jumped around a little bit. I think
LA,
he's a
Chicago.
DJ now or something.
Yeah, he's still a DJ, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm rooting for him, Garrett Sparks.
All the best.
But yeah, it didn't go so well. And Saturday night, I kind of sniffed out what was going to happen. I was down there and I saw something. We were out for dinner, my wife and I saw something that was a bad omen. I knew it was going to lead to a bad night.
Oh, no.
I've never seen this move before. So I go into the washroom. We're about to walk down to the rink, and I see a guy using the urinal as a stoop to tie his shoes.
So foot on the
urinal, both shoes. Leaf jersey. I'm like, that's not good.
No.
They're not winning tonight.
That is a bet. That's probably the worst omen you could get.
Yeah.
Like foot in the toilet.
I need to interrupt you quickly and just notify or inform you of my feeling. I have no problem with that.
I'm sorry, dude. That's jail. That's prison time.
If you're just putting the bottom of your sneaker up on the urinal,
it's a urinal.
Take a look down. If you
got to get elevation. You got to go up to a level, and the urinal's the perfect height.
How about go out? Walk out
the chair.
You're acting like the hands. He's washing his hands in the urinal.
It's close enough. You know those things flush out of nowhere. Like what if your hands are in there and you get an accidental flush?
Yeah, you get the motion in it.
Because you know what else is going on? Your head's down there. Like you're not tying your shoes like this. You got your head basically in that urinal.
And there are foreign objects.
Absolutely.
You guys looked at that. You would look at that with disgust. I would look at that and acknowledge.
Dude,
Dude, I would
sorry.
look at him and do the, the head shake where it's like, I know where you're at and I respect your move.
Yeah.
I would give him that.
No
head
way.
I could
You
not
cannot-
disrespect this
You look
move
down
anymore.
there. That looks sometimes there's a beard trimmer that's been going on down there.
Oh, it's absurd.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
There is nothing to see.
And you also know the way, like, some other guy could come into the next lane and be like, I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, urinal,
Yeah. No.
like, women couldn't understand this, but men go in, you find a lane, and you target it, and
Yes.
you go, and then you're out of there.
Yes.
There's no, like, oh, he's tying his shoes, I'll wait until he's done. Like, that's another
it's
thing.
ridiculous.
Like, it's just,
No,
it was a
there
wild
are
scene,
certain
and I
spaces-
knew it was coming on
That's
Saturday
an omen,
night.
and I bet you we could figure out the top 5 omens.
That's
that
almost as bad as it gets. But Doogie, get
Foot
a poll going out there. I'll guarantee you 90% or
Foot
more
in the
say
toilet,
That should lead to a fine.
Foot in the toilet with a Matthews jersey on.
Oh,
and that's,
yeah.
but
Big
he
league
scored that.
fan, and I
I
knew he
think
was
everyone
going down.
south of Highway 7 would say foul. Everyone north would say nothing to see there.
You think it's a cultural thing?
Keswick, you think
People
Keswick?
outside of the city, like
Speaking of
rural
Keswick,
people?
I got to give a shout out to a fan of the show. I went and played. I was in Florida last week, and I went and played golf at Cabot Citrus Farms. Okay?
Oh, I've heard it's beautiful.
Dude,
Yeah.
this place is so sick.
Yep.
And it was a beautiful morning. And I went to the first tee with our caddy. And on the first tee, I turned around. Good looking dude standing there. He's all dressed up in the citrus stuff, puts his hand out. He's the director of golf, Mike Johnston, from Keswick, Ontario.
No way.
Yes.
Nice.
He
Well,
goes, I've heard you guys, listened to you guys before. I'm from Keswick, Ontario.
I love it.
I had a ton of respect. What an operation they got down there.
I've
This place,
heard.
just check it out.
Cabot is outstanding
Yeah,
across
if
the
you want to
board.
go on a trip down south, they got cottages. They got all. It's like
Wow.
it's a paradise.
Cabot is taken over, and it's a great Canadian company, right? And they started out east, obviously, and
But
now
dude,
they're out west.
This guy
they're down
ran
south.
the operation. He
What
stuck
a
his
shout
hand
out.
out. Mike Johnston, Keswick, Ontario.
MJ from Keswick, Ontario.
Love
I
it.
love it. Well, Cujo was in the house on Saturday night,
Was he?
also from Keswick, Ontario.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? And Cujo was there. And
You getting grief, though, that you were in the house for a loss again or not?
yeah, I had some people that were very unkind to me online and on the way out. You know what? I got to point
Were you
out.
like in a private box, or were you in?
No, we were in the seats. We were in the seats.
Man of the people, right?
Man of the people. We were in the seats walking around. I'll say this, Leaf fans are not in a good place right now. Like, Leaf fans,
Yeah, it's a
this
grind,
team has just jabbed at them for so many years. And Leaf fans, I think understandably and quite frankly deservedly, are really unhappy with the way things are going. Because this team...
They're
at
not
least-
unhappy. Here's what they are. They're nervous. They're not unhappy.
Is that how you would define it?
I would because they're like, okay, the playoffs. And by the way, in years past, it's not like they started playing a brand of hockey where everyone was like, oh my God, these guys are ready for the playoffs. I'm pretty sure if you're a fan of the Ottawa Senators right now, watching the Ottawa Senators play, you would say, this team's ramping up for the
They looked really good on Saturday. Like,
Really good. So
road
their
game.
fan
Really good
base
road
is
game.
watching them play. And Jamie, you do all the games. You know better
Yep.
than anybody. But I'm sure their fan base is saying, man, these guys are kind of getting jacked up for the playoffs right now. But I'm sure Maple Leaf fans are saying, oh my God, are they getting ready to do it again? Because, and Craig Berube mentioned after the game on Saturday night, he's like, just the key word is urgency. Like, it was just like couple pucks out. That one play on the wall, Matthews, Marner losing his guy, Sanderson. It's like there was no urgency. So it's like, what? Like, do you not see the urgency? We've been saying you got to win the division and play. Do they have urgency for that? And I get it. There's a part of the schedule where it's just there's a lot of games and they might be out of gas. There's some goofy things going on in the league. Like, I don't think Vegas Overdrive is freaking out that the Vegas Golden Knights are heading back to Vegas after getting beat by Buffalo and Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some weird things going on, but I think the fans are just nervous. Like, oh, you guys are going to start doing this stuff again right before the playoffs,
Which is fair. But it is like we've seen peaks and valleys. So I always try to be measured. The one thing I will say, and I want both your reaction, is I didn't love the comments after the game. Like Matthews is like, yeah, everyone else is playing playoff hockey. Guess we better. Like, I'm like, hold on a second here. Like, you guys are a veteran team. You should be digging in. You should realize the standings are on the wall in the dressing room. Like, these guys know what's at stake here down the stretch. So I was like, This isn't the time to say lessons
Why don't we
learned
play
right
them? Do we have them both together here, JP, or are we playing one at a time? All right, let's play Matthews. Here's Matthews' post game from Saturday night.
I mean, I think the margins have been really small. I mean, the last couple of games, but I think, just details in our game. I think, haven't quite been there, and I mean, it's on us to figure that out and to just be better. I mean, we got to get it through our head that all these games, especially some of the teams we're playing all these games are going to be playoff-like games. There's teams that are, fighting for their lives. They're trying to make a push. They're desperate teams like the one we played tonight. So. We got to wrap our heads around that and just be better all around as a team.
Wrong.
Well,
You know what bugs me about that is like their last captain would come out and say, we got to get to our structure. And it was just, I would watch it all the time after playoff exits. Like you just got punted from the entire playoffs. And I'd watch that. And Duthie would say, do you want to comment on that? And I was like, absolutely. Because it wasn't about structure. It was about urgency and passion and playing for keeps and all that other stuff. And then their new captain, where you think the message would be a little bit different, it's like the details. What are you talking about, the details? It's playing with urgency and playing better. That's all it is.
Yeah, listen, they're being outplayed every single game they're playing right now.
Right.
Like over the last 6 or 7 games, not over the whole season, clearly. In this pocket, they haven't won a regulation game in the last 7. Also, they've been blowing a lot of leads. Like that was something they were doing very well earlier in the year. Remember a couple weeks ago I mentioned
You gave the kiss of
27-0 when they're leading after 2 periods.
What a jackass comment.
I mean, it was factual. It was just simply a fact. And ever since then, the wheels have fallen off.
But they got the win in that.
But Utah, they held on for dear life.
Yeah, that
right.
was
Like there were a number of games. Even the first game back after the break, they're up 4-0 in Carolina before you even turn the game on, and they held on for dear life. And they've done that a lot in the games that they have won since the Four Nations. Yeah. But really, it's not that deep. They're being outplayed every game.
Yeah.
They don't deserve to win these games.
Right.
And Ottawa outplayed them. They came alive in the third. They put on a push, and then Ullmark came alive, and he made some great stops. And, Ottawa, I thought Ottawa played a really, really solid road game. The first period was awful. Both teams, icings and choppy puck.
It was
a terrible first period.
Sloppy game.
Yeah, both teams. It was kind of they're easing into it, and they couldn't figure it out. And then I thought Ottawa in the second period leaned on them, even though the Leafs were they were gifted the Matthews goal. Ullmark just put it on a tee for them, and they blew both leads. And you're right about urgency, and that's what the coach is indicating.
Right.
Like Berube, and this is what Berube's a raw coach. Like that's what he's got to get that out of him. Yeah. And he mentioned on Saturday he didn't like the way they played in the first period. And this is what he had to say about the attitude of the team going into a big game tonight. Calgary's in a playoff hunt. Dustin Wolf making his debut here in Toronto. Right. And he's been really good recently. And here's what Berube said about the general mood and attitude of the team today.
This morning, I think, we went over a few things where we're at as a team and, talked about some urgency that we need a little bit. We need more, obviously, throughout the game, not when it's desperate time, I think last game, I thought that we talked about it, that Ottawa was a little more hungry than us early on in that game. We got to get that battle level and that urgency level up. Guys understand that. They're not very happy right now, which is a good thing. And, that's really the message. The message, too, is like, we're right there. I mean, we've got 2 games in hand here. We've got to take care of our business and starting with tonight's game only and focus on that and go from there.
Correct. I like the comments because it's not like panicky and you can see a confidence, but the urgency. This isn't about Steven Lorentz showing urgency going into the corner and running somebody through the boards, or Scotty Lawton or Max Domi. This is about John Tavares playing his best hockey, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Neal, their best players, Morgan Riley.
Absolutely.
And beyond that, it's their goaltender. Like their goaltending has fallen off. Jamie, you would know the numbers or whatever they're doing. But like there was that save the other night on that Perron goal where I thought he slid across the ice and it was...
Well, it was a kind of a flutter. It came back the other way. Like those are...
Yeah.
Sanderson
even
and
the Sanderson
were both on the same side. They were both right in the same spot of the
ice. So
ice.
it's like the saves that they were getting earlier in the year. But I'll just tell you one thing about that coach right there. There should be some artificial intelligence on Twitter for anybody that's trying to take a run at Craig Berube. And I know you should put no stake in some dummy fan that's chirping the coach. The artificial intelligence should correct it and say same players, bud. Same players. Third coach, and they're like, I saw some people taking some pot shots at the coach. Give your head a shake for real.
I think when it comes to Berube, he's going back. He's reverting back to similar lines, right? Like they tried it on Saturday night. They tried to move Marner around and Willie around, and now he's going back to the lines. He's trying to figure out who he has and what he has.
Right.
And I agree with that sentiment. And I do think, like, if you're not after 9 years looking at the superstar players and saying they're the ones that have to drive the bus, to me, I think that. You're starting in the wrong position. When a team is playing like this and things are trying to be figured out, Berube, management, they all have skin in the game, and they all deserve some criticism in some different forms. But at the forefront of it is the players, and that's why I'm very curious to see if they're actually going to play pissed, because I don't know if they can do it. Like, that's the truth. I don't know if Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander and John Tavares can play pissed.
Yeah, like Austin
I don't
Matthews,
think they
are you
can.
going to start the game and the puck goes in the corner on the first shift of the game? Are you going to drill that defenseman through the glass?
I don't know if they
and say
can.
this is how it's going to set the tone?
Because the reason that fight happened on Saturday night was because Greg took a shot at Matthews. Like, that's why Lawton fought him. If you go back and look at the Giroux goal, I was watching. I was at that side of the ice, and Matthews was on it, and he's skating by him, and Greg looks at him and goes, "I'm going to chicken wing this guy," and he took a little jab at him, and Matthews, instead of saying, "No chance, I'm going to bury you for that," he just looked at him and skated away, and then 5 minutes later, Lawton's like, "You got to fight for that." I think that's what happened. I don't know that definitively, but that would be my guess.
That was your interpretation.
That was my interpretation. Greg took a shot at Matthews after the Giroux goal, and Lawton, the next time he was on, said, "You're fighting for that." Yeah. I think that's what happened. And I'm not saying, and I do this every year, and I know I'm yelling into the abyss because it's never going to happen. I don't need Matthews to fight there. I'd love to see him actually get pissed, though. Like, who is Ridley Gregg to touch you, Austin Matthews, after they scored? Like, Greg, I wish we could find the video. We might be able to. I don't know if they had it on Hockey Night.
Yeah.
But he chicken winged him a little bit. It wasn't crazy, but enough for Matthews turned around and looked at him like, what are you doing? Where I would have loved to have seen Austin just say, "I'm burying this guy." Two-handed.
I'll take a 2-minute penalty.
Give me a 5 in a game if you have to.
Rasmus Dahlin him just like you did in Buffalo. That was the last time you actually got pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that outdoor game in Hamilton where he cross-checked Rasmus Dahlin. So now teams are going to just know Ryan Reeves around, and people are going to be like, "I'm going to chicken wing this guy. What the hell's the worst that can happen to me?"
And that's the thing. Like, again, Reeves is a separate conversation, and he's not going to play in the playoffs, and he's not going to be on the ice in a penalty kill situation, and he's not going to fight Greg because Greg's not a heavyweight. Like, that's so the Reeves thing is different, but he is a personality. He is a presence. And I noticed that. Like, I thought Hamonic was really pushing back on Saturday. He was going at Matthews and Marner, like he was playing tough.
Hey,
I thought Shabbat was playing with some piss and vinegar on Saturday
What do you think
night.
the recipe is when teams play the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Exactly.
Push them to the outside, make their life difficult, and lean on them, and see what kind of pushback they have.
Yeah.
And guess what they got back? Not much.
And that's what I'm questioning tonight. If they're pissed, to your point, it can't be Lawton and Pontus Holmberg and Domi. If the big boys aren't pissed, everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah. And you sent the tweet out, and when I said the fans were nervous, Saturday night playoff type style of game, lost, got pushed around a little bit, didn't have the compete level, urgency, whatever you want to call it. Vegas, Colorado, it's like they're finding ways to lose these games, and why fans are nervous is what was it?
Florida.
Florida.
So they're losing these games, and why fans are nervous, they're like, those are 4 playoff type games with like big boy type hockey. All in different era. Like Colorado's not as physical, but a big boy hockey team, a team that's really good and is going to have a chance to win. And they're finding ways to lose it, and fans are like, so what's going to be around the corner? And I've said it in years past, I don't mind a little bobble at this particular point because I think you can find your game right before the playoffs.
Agreed. Yep.
But someone brought up a good point today, and they said, that's a great statement and everything, Jeff, but you tell me as Mr. Analyst, this guy at breakfast this morning, he's like, what is their game? Like,
define it.
Yeah, he's like, you said they get to their game. What is their game if they're on their game? And I had to think about it for a minute. Like, what is it that they bring to the table?
Well,
and is it much different than it has been? I know they got a coach and a new philosophy, but I guess they just have to play better is the end of the story.
This year,
then they're capable of playing a lot better.
And that's right. This year, if you look at their identity, it's been defense. It's been tight, contested games. To your point, what you said, was it 2 weeks ago? How long ago were you like, hey, 27-0 since?
That's what they were.
But no,
they locked it down.
I'm focusing in on that. When you look at the definition of the team, they're not the team that tries to open it up anymore. It's not, hey, we'll win 7-4 and we'll skill them to death. What they're trying to do is play consistent throughout the season. So really, the identity of their team has been defense first, manage the puck, win loose puck battles. This is the thing that I'm going to be talking
watch this.
about.
Watch. He gives him
there's a little chicken wing.
That
Yeah,
was
there
the
it
wing.
is. Yeah.
I was watching it live. I'm like, that's interesting that he just took a play that again, Joe. And I know if people are watching.
That's a good little
listening,
nugget as an analyst.
I thought that was
a
a good. I should have tweeted that out, and I didn't. But like Giroux, it's an unlucky bounce. It goes off.
Yeah, it goes off Tanev.
But Greg's and there's Matthews, and he just jabs him.
Yeah.
And I think that's Lawton saw it and said, "You got to fight for that." And Austin just kept going, and he turned around and looked at because he noticed him. He's like,
Yeah.
I know you did that to me, but I'm just going to keep going."
Yeah.
And again, Ridley Gregg's gotten under their skin a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he might only get you 10 goals a year, but he's an effective player, man.
Yeah.
They signed that guy, and I was like, man, that might be a little. I think they signed him for $4 million a year.
Oh, I think it's less, but he's.
They gave him a 4-year
like
deal
him,
at
and they
three
should.
something.
Yeah,
but he is worth just the pain in the ass factor.
But I think he's at 12 goals. Like, he's a good player, but he, in a perfect world, I believe he's in your top 9. He pushes up to your top 6.
At the end of the
He's
day,
been
Jamie,
versatile.
he's a pain in the ass, and
Yeah.
they value that.
Yeah.
Like he's
Well, and to his credit, like in Lawton's credit, they fought, but he's like, all right, I'll fight you. Like, let's go. And
in the end, like I look at it, there's lots that can be improved in. I want to come back to your original thing. It's not Lawton that's going to drag him out of it. Like I said, Edmonton's struggling. It's got to be Draisaitl and McDavid. Your top players play better. If your top players play better, guess what? Things all fall into place.
That's what it comes
really
down
what
to.
it is.
Because, and that's that you asked, the identity of the team. The identity over the last few years has been that would strike fear in the opposition is that they have 4 or 5 guys who can just bury you regardless of how prepared you are or how well you're playing.
Right.
If Matthews and Marner and then into a second wave of Tavares and Nylander, you might stop one. Maybe that top pair and that top line does a great job and stops them. You don't have enough to stop the next guy.
Zero on top of their game, you got no chance.
Well, and that's it. And it's the same thing with a lot of different places. Like you stop McDavid, go ahead, but Draisaitl's over the board next. You don't have enough to stop him.
Yeah.
You might stop the one guy if he's cooking, not the other guy.
Right.
And that's what this team's identity has been, is that these guys, they can strike fear in you because of their abilities and their offensive proficiencies. And if those aren't there and they're struggling to create, they're struggling to score, all of a sudden you look at the rest of the lineup and you're like, the third line's not going to scare you. The fourth line's not going to scare you. They're not big and tough.
Right.
They're not overly fast. Like it all starts at the top. Like the best players have got to perform better. And tonight's a big opportunity because Florida lost again. Florida's blown a couple of games recently.
Yeah.
Like they threw away a game in Boston, threw away a game yesterday in New York. You're 4 games back, like Berube said, or 4 points back with games in hand.
Yeah.
And you play them 2 more times.
Yeah. And this isn't
like
all
you can
on
get
us.
out of this,
Well,
but you got to
get your game
smarten
in
up
order.
tonight.
That's really,
you have to
and he has
smarten
to
up
worry
tonight.
about themselves.
And
That's
it's
what
not
they-
all on Austin Matthews. Like Mitch Marner, ever since that Utah game,
The last 3 games
terrible.
has been terrible. Like he's fumbling the puck. He really struggled on Saturday night, and I thought he really blended into the game against Florida on Thursday.
Well, they got an opportunity. This is the thing, though. They have a busy week. Play tonight, play Wednesday, play Thursday, play Saturday, and that's after playing Saturday.
Yeah. And that Colorado team on Wednesday is as tough as it gets in
and
the
they
league
might
right
be
now.
getting their captain back by the looks
see him
of it.
skating?
Landeskog cruising around. That'll be a long-term IR move, I would guess, right? Like game 1 of the playoffs.
It's playoff bound, but I don't know. But
He was moving out there.
That would be a
today.
great story, man.
It is a
He
great
hasn't
story,
played in
regardless.
2
Great
years.
for the league.
Captain, like really, really good player.
Yeah.
It would be because I just assumed Landeskog was done. Like wasn't.
Who knows?
I
Maybe
think
he's
we
just
all-
skating around to be with the boys. Who knows?
Could be.
He's a great leader too. I have a buddy who's good friends with him. Apparently, he is just an unbelievable human, and the guys love him to death. Like
Yeah.
he's, and when you took him out of that dressing room, the dressing room changed. So I think they need and want him around too.
Dude, I think he's been the captain since he's
19
Yeah.
or 19. He was
Yeah.
the youngest
Well-
captain, I think, in the NHL before McDavid took over.
I think you're right. And he was the captain in Kitchener. Like there aren't a lot of European players that are captains in the Canadian Hockey League. Like, I would actually be intrigued to see the list on that. I can't imagine it's lengthy.
No.
Yeah.
Like, generally, it's not like a European player that comes over, and he was like,
Some guy from Sudbury.
it's always some
The guy with
guy.
a mustache at 16.
Always from
Yeah.
he grew up on a farm and he's your captain, and you just know exactly who he is and what he's going to do.
Ridley Gregg, 3.25 starting next year.
Yeah.
He's at 865.
That's a good deal,
He's
man.
22.
Ottawa's in a really good place. Like they've won 6 in a row. They deserve to win on Saturday night.
Well,
they were resilient. They battled,
Thing is, though,
and they're
we've seen
in the
streaks.
race here.
Well, they're in the race. They're 5 points up, I believe, on the Rangers. But as we've seen all season long, 5 wins, 5 losses. You've got to
you gotta
find
stay-
them.
you gotta
And
stay on.
that's not just
their
reserve.
goalie is starting to do what I said he needed to do. I'm telling you, if this goalie had have been dialed in from the start of the season, they would be on top of the Atlantic Division for crying out
Well,
loud.
they'd be pushing.
Be right there
Damn
with
right
Tampa
they
and
would.
Toronto,
And they're right
for sure.
there right now with him missing games. So, in the end, the Rangers, Montreal, Columbus, Detroit, the Islanders found a way to get. Like they're still hanging around.
I know.
You're Pierre Engvall.
Pierre Engvall, I
He said
inspired
because
him.
Pierre Engvall led Islanders.
Yeah, the
other
Pierre
day,
Engvall led
facing the Edmonton
New York
Oilers.
Islanders.
Dude, did you see Patrick Waugh's face when
Yeah.
somebody asked
Disgusting.
him about him last week?
It was
Like, what about
disgusting.
Engvall? And he sighed. He went,
He had to take. He actually had to.
he took a
compose
deep
himself.
breath.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't believe I'm being asked about this.
He was
guy."
in shock that someone asked him about Pierre Engvall.
Dude, I can't believe Luke gave him that contract.
That's I said on last week that should have been a meeting with Gary Bettman.
A league meeting.
A league meeting. Bettman should have told Lou, you have to meet me at 8:30 tomorrow morning and explain this contract because this is bad for business.
Yeah.
We have a reputation we're trying to
Dude,
uphold
that
here.
should be, in the movies, there's an ejection button on a seat. Like, if you sign that paper, that lose ejection seat, like,
You're
out of the
out.
building, like,
You're
into
out.
Mars.
Yeah, like what was the owner doing when he agreed to sign off on that deal? That's something I would be
It was like a
fascinated by.
6-year deal, man.
7-year deal.
7 times 3.
Yeah, get the cap down. What was Engvall asking for? If it's 3 years, it's got to be 6. But if it's 7, I'll sign for 3. Like, what was the counter?
I
that
would
made that-
love, if there was a Jeremy Schaap 30 for 30 on that contract
Yeah.
negotiation, I would download it immediately.
It would be my home screen.
Imagine
I would watch it.
He probably got a call from his agent. He's like, I got you a 7-year deal at $3 million. He probably hung up the phone and said, that's a
Oh
fine
yeah.
call.
Oh, you'd say for who? For Lunda? Like it can't be in the National League. Am I going back to Sweden?
Frölunda.
I might be having to go back to Sweden.
I will say he was.
No, that's what he said. So he told him the term, and he goes, so I'm going home?
Stockholm? Where are we going? No, the
I
Isle.
watched him over the weekend. He was noticeable.
All right,
I
Pierre.
will say that.
Listen,
Still,
I hear you.
it is still. I mean, they got a point
we're
against
joking.
Edmonton and
We're
they beat
joking.
Florida.
No, we're not joking.
Everyone's having a good time. All right, we've got Ray coming up, Ray Ferraro, just after 5, because we got the Leafs and Flames tonight. We got a bunch of games going on, a bunch of things coming off the weekend as well in the NHL. I think he played with Ilya Kovalchuk too, right? Like his first year, Kovalchuk in the league. I think down in Atlanta because Kovalchuk retired last week.
I thought Kovalchuk had retired 10 years
I
ago.
thought so too. When I saw the email that he was retiring, I'm like, I haven't heard his name since the 2020 Olympics or 2018 Olympics.
I'll look
or
it up
whatever
to
was.
see if he's played hockey anytime recently, because if not, Owen and I are going to sign our papers.
Yeah,
We're gonna
you should.
retire, too.
You guys should
I
retire
didn't
with
sign any papers.
Kovalchuk.
You
I
sign
haven't
any
either.
papers?
Okay,
We're going to retire. We could do an
Everyone retire
overdrive
together.
announcement. We are going to retire.
I like
I
that.
just remember walking out of the Maple Leafs locker room, and the team doctor recalls this because he told me it's one of his favorite stories. Somebody came up to me and they're like, you have a meeting coming up with Fergie and Paul Maurice, and I said, you can tell them both that I'm never stepping foot back in this locker room again. To see you later. I'm not coming back in, and I was never heard from again.
Yeah, that was your retirement.
That was it. I walked out of the building, and they were like, you got an exit meeting. I go, this is an exit, all right. I'm never coming back.
Meet me in the parking lot
Yes.
because I'm
like,
here.
I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
That is your exit meeting.
Well, we'll see if we can maybe Doogie can get some ceremony going or something. We'll see about that. But Ray's coming up. We got Johnson Wagner as well coming up from the Golf Channel. We'll touch on what happened this morning, man. It was quite the scene at the Players. And there's some trouble brewing down in Dunedin. We'll tell you what news came out of Blue Jay camp earlier today as well. We'll get to that. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Don't sweat the technique.
You spoke off the top about an outrageous act at a urinal where someone tied their shoes, just put their foot up,
Yeah, use the urinal as a stoop to tie their shoes.
which I declared no foul.
No.
I would have given acknowledgement saying you got to
ridiculous.
tie your shoe.
Sorry.
It's the bottom of your shoe.
Dude, that
Nothing-
shoe's that's in your car. You're walking around your house. Your
Exactly.
kids.
Once
Hey,
you
kids, can you go grab my shoes? And your
Yeah.
kids are bringing your shoes over to you.
Oh, okay. So you're walking out of a building, all the grubby gum and cigarettes and all the garbage. You
Hey,
don't think is
listen,
going
that's
on the
shrapnel
bottom
that you can't control. You can control
Exactly.
staying away from
Okay.
the urinal.
That's a
dude.
My
controlled
point
Would you
is-
do it in a porta potty? Let me ask you that. Porta potty at the RBC Canadian
Dude, a
Open
porta
on
potty-
the Sunday.
I would climb in it to tie my shoe. A porta potty deserves no respect whatsoever.
Yeah.
You remember the Canadian Open porta potties?
I've seen them, and I've seen them get towed in and get
Yes.
towed out, and
Yes.
it's a scene.
Anyway, my point is nothing is more despicable than the pic I'm about to post. The Shea Weber jersey guy. That is the most insane urinal foul because he threw his nachos and Diet Coke at the bottom of that, went to the can, and thought nothing of
And
it.
there are shrapnel.
Yeah,
There
man.
are shrapnel
Dude,
going
that's a
on.
10-game gross misconduct right there.
Yeah, that's-
and plus a $500,000 fine.
Because there's rebounds coming off that you just.
Dude, that guy went and
said
sat
it.
down and buried those nachos like there was no problem.
Yeah, I know that.
You said if there's
Keep
an
it up.
accidental
Keep the
flush,
pick up, Joe.
Oh, yeah,
Show
if you get a
people how
flush-
disgusting that is.
No, we don't need
there
that
is-
type of activity.
Right now with AI and that, there is somebody who knows that person.
Oh, yeah.
There's
That
somebody
guy.
who's like, that's Phil.
That's Phil.
Yeah, he knows the jersey, the shoes, the way he ties them, the little
The
right
nachos.
flex
My
on the
buddy
right
Ray,
foot.
I guarantee you.
Look at the flex on the right foot. Someone knows that flex.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you, that person could be identified.
I think you're right.
You remember our buddy Kenny Pagan? Like they had a picture on the front page of the Sun or whatever. Like identify. If we put that picture somewhere on the OverDrive or what it's, who is this guy? We'd like to interview him.
I think we
He's
could
probably
put it
probably,
in
track him
10
done,
down.
he's
minutes.
probably done radio or something. Somebody knows who
Somebody-
that guy
Yeah,
is.
that
talking
guy's
to.
called into a post game on TSN 690 in Montreal. That guy on
If
his
you
way
know
home.
this man, we want to speak to him tomorrow.
There's a reward.
That guy's called into Melnick's show, and
Yeah.
Been
Been
Mitch
mad
Gallows had to deal with him. All the boys out there.
Mad about Lane Hudson not getting enough ice time.
Absolutely. And listen, the Habs had a big win over the weekend as well. And they
did,
got
right?
Ottawa tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm doing that game. That's
That's a big game,
It's a
man.
big game. But like, I was trying to, you tie into the Leafs and all of that. When's the last time every Canadian city has
Was
been
on edge
playing-
like this?
and playing meaningful games?
Oh, I'll bet you it's been 30 years. 40 years. Honestly, I don't know the last time.
Now, they're all not going to make it, but there is, Calgary and Vancouver are right there battling with St. Louis now that's come up.
And Utah. That was a big one
Oh, yeah,
for them.
Utah. So, but you've got Ottawa battling, Montreal battling,
Mm-hmm.
the Leafs and Edmonton. Winnipeg is where they are. Winnipeg's been great.
They're the pace car. They're
just-
running
I don't
away
want
with
to
that
jinx
division.
it, and I hope anybody I know in the Ottawa organization isn't mad at this. Ottawa's in. I'm sorry, they're in.
Well,
I don't.
they got a 6-point buffer right now, but 16 games. There's still time. I would say that if there was 10 games left.
Yeah.
Like if Montreal beats them in reg tomorrow night, then Montreal's 4 back.
I think
or
Ottawa-
5 back. Ottawa's in a great spot.
They're in
They're
a
great spot.
My whole thing is, I've just learned, and maybe this is just doing the job for 14 years. Never say never on anything. This is the way I feel.
Noodles,
I
Hayes, I want you to look at that board and tell me who the 2 wildcard teams are. End of
Well,
regular-
Ottawa's one of them. And
I think it's going to be the 2 that are sitting there.
the Rangers, I don't
They
know,
do
man.
some
They've been
weird
inconsistent
things.
all year.
Well, yeah, you look at the games played, so they're chasing that.
I've been kind of bullish on Columbus just because of the story
Story's
and everything,
fantastic.
and they've been scoring at will. And you look at it, I don't feel great about any of the teams, quite frankly.
For
Like,
me, it's the Rangers because I believe they're the best team on paper compared to the others. I would love to see Montreal just because it's a great
Montreal and
story.
Ottawa getting in would be
Montreal,
incredible. The 3
Ottawa
Eastern
getting in.
teams all in would be amazing.
I
be
think
amazing.
whoever gets in the second wild, I like Ottawa's chances in a first round playoff match.
I do too. The way they're playing, like
Yeah,
they got
the way
good,
they're playing, and
balanced.
it's recency
and-
bias, and I hope I called them automatic in, and I hope I don't regret that. But I think they could cause problems for somebody. Whoever gets in the second wild card, I think is going to get their ass handed to them.
Well,
by whoever wins the Atlantic Division.
Yes,
It depends on who's at the top.
So you don't think that the Toronto Maple Leafs, if they win the Atlantic, will
How could you possibly say that about the Leafs in the playoffs? Like, how could you ever be overly optimistic?
Let me just touch on this, and I briefly touched on it in the last half hour. We discussed their recent struggles, what needs to change. I don't mind a bobble right now.
No, you can survive a bobble, and you get a 10-point buffer.
You can get it on track and go into the playoffs on a heater, man.
Well,
they haven't had too many bobbles this season. What are we talking about? Look at the Rangers. The Rangers have been on a bobble the whole year.
Well, there are teams.
They had one early in the season. They've had one recently, and now they're kind of in a funk right now. But if they snap out of it and they get dialed in right before the playoffs and kind of let everybody settle in, there are some different pieces back there. Everyone's got to elevate and play their best hockey and play with desperation. But if they can do that, they'll be right on track for the playoffs.
It just, honestly, you make a good point. I think it's just my whole thing, and I believe I'll speak, and Hayes, you speak next, but I'll believe it when I see it. That's just the way I think people are treating that around here.
And that's
and they deserve that. That's the reputation that they've earned. They've earned that
exactly
reputation.
Because I think that's what rattled people recently. It's like, okay, big playoff game versus Vegas. Saw how that big playoff game versus Colorado. Okay, big playoff game against Florida head-to-head. All right, so people have PTSD going, okay, this is being called a playoff game, and what are we seeing?
Now tonight's the ultimate litmus test because their coach just went on TV this morning and he goes, I basically told everybody the urgency's not even close and the way they're playing is not even close. So the first 10 minutes against the Calgary Flames tonight, let's see what your urgency level is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a hot start.
Yes.
But then you got to close. I mean, the Leafs have had in Utah, they skated them out of the rink.
Yeah.
Like the shots were like 19-4. They were up 3-0. And then they folded up their bags and said, all right, well, this is over. And they didn't close. And, a concern is because the old saying has always been out there, when you're running hot, you at the end of it, you win games you probably shouldn't.
Right.
And when you're in a slump, you're losing games you probably should win.
Yeah.
They haven't hit that part yet. They didn't deserve to beat Ottawa. They didn't deserve to beat Florida. They like that.
Right.
So my
they
fear
might
is
dominate tonight,
and
but
Dustin Woll stands on his
steals the
head.
game.
And then it's like, okay, but that's almost where we're at right now. It's not about just getting the 2 points, although I
Taking
feel
out
you
of
get
it.
them. Look like the better team tonight.
Right.
That's what the Maple Leafs. It's that simple. By the end of this game, walk out saying we deserve the 2 points. We were better than that team tonight, and I think that's what they have to bring because Woll's going in. It's a big opportunity for Joseph Woll because Stolar's got the last 2 games and they were the big ones. Like Florida, that was big, and then they went back to him against Ottawa, a divisional rival, big game Saturday night, and I don't think they lost because of him on Saturday.
No,
but he's come back to earth a little bit. Well, and that's a big part of it. Their goaltending in the first 45, 50 games it was spectacular. Phenomenal. And now that's not going to get you out of Dodge.
But they're in uncharted territory, both of those guys, as far as games played. So it's the same situation. Anthony Stolarz, over a full season, has played in 28 games. Now he's pushed up against that, and he still has, a month left? Oh, just over a
16
month.
16 games, yeah.
Like, this is a massive test for him. Same thing with Joseph Woll. These guys are in uncharted territory as far as games played. So I always believed there was going to be a market correction for them.
But one of these guys, Jamie, it's not like they're playing Grant Fuhr 72 games a year. Like, is it too much to ask for one of them to be playing Woll right now?
No.
I get it. They're into some territory they've never been in. It's the big leagues. Like,
I get it.
it drives me nuts.
But everybody's got to play
excuses for all these players.
Well, I'm the thing is too, when you look at teams that are struggling, you can circle a handful of guys on the team that are playing to their capabilities. Everybody else is like, okay, you got more. Like Ekman Larson, the start of the season, first 45 games. I thought he was fantastic.
Really, really settled in.
But he looks his age right now for some reason. Like some of these guys are starting to look. It's the dog days. Not excuses, but it's just the reality is what you're watching. Okay, they're playing Saturday. They play Thursday, play Saturday, play Monday, play Wednesday. Like, they can't get it going every night. So the team looks older on certain situations. They are a veteran team.
Yeah.
They are a veteran team. So it's hard for them to ramp it up every night. Younger teams are a little bit quicker on certain situations. But you can start by what you were saying. Be the better team. Like, go, hey, we're going to play to our capability. And it's not Steven Lorentz who's going to drag him out of it. It's going to be Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or William Nylander or John Tavares or a combination of them all.
Yep.
And everybody on that roster can play better. I can't think of one guy. Max Domi's had a couple, 1.5 nice games, you know?
Yeah, well, he had the big one against Florida.
Right.
And there's still, like, he might be on the third. It looks like he's going to be on the third line
Center.
tonight playing center with Robertson and McMahon. And, you know, Berube, he's very reluctant to changing these lines up. Like, we're going back to Nyes and Matthews and Marner tonight. And I know why he believes in that line. I get it. But that's the line that's going to play a ton tonight. And that's the line that's got to drag them out of this.
Why is Scotty Lawton playing on the fourth line tonight? You gave up a first-round pick for a guy to play third line center.
He's got to play better. Like at the forefront of it, he's got to play better for sure. But
give him a chance to play out of it.
I hear you. I mean, they got Pontus Holmberg on the second line left wing tonight, where I wonder if maybe you move Lawton into that spot. Give him a chance to play with some better players and give him a chance to show some life tonight. But you're right. I mean, and David Kamp's making $2.5 million to be up in the press box again. Like, he's not playing. Yeah. So they you know, the deadline's gone. They got to figure it out. They got 16 games, and you know, but it goes quick. Like, it goes quickly. These 16 games.
Agreed.
Ray Ferraro in 20 minutes. Max Scherzer speaking on his status and his thumb earlier today. We'll tell you about that and why it doesn't sound so promising at this point. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Overdrive continues. Powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. So Max Scherzer, who has been dealing, you know, with injuries the last couple of years, obviously he's here on a one-year deal. And Keegan Matheson tweeted out earlier today that tomorrow and the next day will be big for Max Scherzer because he said his thumb issue flares up in his recovery. So his thumb is all good when he's out there pitching, but it's the day after and the day after that where it flares up. And Scherzer said the danger is that pitching through this could lead to shoulder injuries. So he's working on this with a hand specialist, doctors, and trainers. And Scherzer said, quote, "My thumb hurts. It hurts to grip the ball. The critical thing I've learned over the years here is that your thumb is absolutely critical to your arm health. Unfortunately, this is what I've been dealing with since 2023, end quote.
My problem is, did you not do a physical, a thorough one before signing the contract? Or did you give this guy a $15 million retirement gift? How dumb can you be?
Well, this is the concern, man.
Notice how it went from he got to spring training. He was like, I can't wait. We're here to win, man. Everything I'm revitalized. I'm here to win. I can't wait to pitch. Now it's, my thumb's jacked up and it's been like this for a year and a half. Like, give me a break.
Well, and he had the surgery and everything. Like, he had those two starts against Philly where he looked good and he was throwing heat. He was moving stuff around, and Trey Turner was messing with him, and he was talking about umpires and AI and all this kind of stuff. And now you knew this was coming, right? Yes. Like, you knew, if you're just being honest and realistic, you were hoping to get 20 to 25 starts out of him.
It looks like 5 to 8.
I'm concerned that this guy now has been through the ringer the last couple of years. And if he has been, he knows his body.
Yeah.
But if he's already saying, well, my thumb hurts, that means it's a matter of time before my shoulder hurts. He's not going to force it.
No.
Like, he's not going to push through to make sure that he gets out there. And this was always the issue. Like, what are you going to do if Scherzer is a guy that's not reliable or can't pitch or can't be available? And, you know, today they announced Jose Barrios gets the ball opening day. It's a big honor for him. And Barrios is a guy now been here for a couple of years, signed long-term. They're in the, you know, he's a good Blue Jay. He stays healthy. He's been pitching well. I think that was predictable in the right play. Give the ball to Barrios. Gosman will go the second game. But after that, they got to figure out what they're going to do. Yeah, because is Scherzer going to pitch or not? Is he going to break camp? Will he be on the IL? They're figuring out what they're going to do at Varsho. It doesn't sound like he'll be in a position to play center field to break camp and to start the season. So what are you going to do in center field? You know, these are all kind of dark clouds, not dark clouds, but they're question marks hanging over the team when they have to get off to a good start. Like, that's at the forefront of what this team needs. You need a good start to the season.
Very concerning, though.
And Scherzer, you're just hoping to go see him pitch. Like, as a fan, you just want to be able to go see him pitch. And now,
I want to see him pitch well. Now, I just don't want to see him go out there and have 3 innings, and then it's like, thumbs acting up, and it's trending the way where, you know, the season where it's like one great start, and then the next one the thumb flares up.
Yeah.
And then it's like injuries, and then you never see the guy. And
it's the Keem Olajuwon, man. That's what Olajuwon did when he came to the Raptors. Like they gave him this big deal, like a lot of money, and he was
Big
coming
name,
in.
selling jerseys.
Hall
All
of Famer, one of the all-time greats, and he couldn't get on the court. He couldn't play.
We got to have a Jerry's of how many games we're going to see out of this guy.
I think you'd take. This is going to sound crazy because it's March.
You take 10.
I'd gamble on more than 10, but I'd probably take 15 starts right now.
Like you'd sign off if the deal came across your desk right
Give me
now.
15 starts. Yeah, I mean that means you're going to your
yeah.
bullpen every second time through the rotation, which is
Million
tough.
Start.
Yeah, he'd be getting $1 million a start. It's a pretty good deal for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially if he just gets touched up early.
Yeah,
There's
get
a
him
million.
out.
See you later.
Get him out. Thanks, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you might take 15 starts. Wow. That may be light. It might be worth a gamble, but 20, you pounce at that offer.
You'd pounce on
Yes.
20.
Yes. You're in arbitration right now. They say we give you 20 starts.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer, you're taking it right now.
Yeah.
Hour 2 coming up. Ray Ferraro will join us. Johnson Wagner later this afternoon on what happened at the Players over the weekend, what happened at the Players this morning, and Leafs Flames tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.